And the American economy is by far the strongest in the world. Accordingly, I have directed the Secretary of the Treasury to take the action necessary to defend the dollar against the speculators. I have directed Secretary Connally to suspend temporarily the convertibility of the dollar into gold or other reserve assets, except in amounts and conditions determined to be in the interest of monetary stability and in the best interest of the United States.
Imagine a world where the dollar is no longer king in the oil markets. It sounds like the plot of a political thriller, but recent rumors have sparked debate about the so-called Petrodollar system, a crucial arrangement for the dollar's dominance. There has been recent reports Saudi Arabia has decided to end its 50-year US-Saudi deal. If this is the case, is this the final blow to the US dollar dominance and America's biggest foreign policy weapon, the mighty US Sanction tool? Let's find out. To understand the petrodollar's rise, let's travel back to 1971. That year, the US abandoned the dollar's gold peg, ending the Bretton Woods system and throwing global finance into disarray. The dollar's value plummeted, inflation soared, and it seemed like the dollar's global dominance was doomed. But a clever maneuver changed everything. In 1974, the US struck a deal with Saudi Arabia, ensuring that oil would be traded in dollars. This move, though unofficial and without an expiration date, tied the dollar to the world's most crucial commodity, oil. The US-Saudi deal was more than just an economic arrangement, it was a strategic alliance. In exchange for selling oil in dollars, Saudi Arabia received military protection from the US. This relationship solidified the dollar's role in global oil markets, creating a de facto commodity backing that surpassed even gold in its influence. For decades, the petrodollar system thrived, with oil prices remaining relatively stable. The exception was the 1978-79 oil shock, triggered by the Iranian Revolution. This crisis led to soaring oil prices and rampant inflation in the US. To combat this, Fed Chairman Paul Volcker implemented aggressive rate hikes, strengthening the dollar and stabilizing the system. Volcker's actions restored confidence in the dollar, reinforcing its global status. The early 2000s marked a turning point. Rising Chinese demand and dwindling easy-to-extract oil reserves pushed oil prices higher. By 2008, oil reached $145 per barrel, exposing cracks in the petrodollar system. Unlike the Volcker era, the US failed to respond with strong policies, instead cutting interest rates and printing money. This eroded global confidence in the dollar. China, the world's largest oil importer, took notice. In 2009, China called for a new international monetary system, signaling its dissatisfaction with the dollar. China introduced yuan-priced oil contracts in 2018 and ramped up purchases of Russian crude in yuan following the Ukraine conflict. This shift marked the dawn of the petro-yuan and the beginning of the end for the petrodollar. In 2023, Beijing brokered a historic peace deal between Saudi Arabia and Iran, marking a significant shift in Middle Eastern diplomacy. This agreement aimed to restore diplomatic relations, which had been severed since 2016, and reduce regional tensions. The deal highlighted China's growing influence in the region and its role as a key mediator in global conflicts. It also underscored both Saudi Arabia and Iran's interest in stabilizing their relationship to focus on domestic priorities and regional economic cooperation, signaling a potential new era of cooperation and reduced hostilities. The Russian-Ukrainian war and the subsequent sanctions imposed by Western nations have led many non-Western countries to reconsider their economic dependencies on Europe and the US. In 2024, this shift has manifested in a strategic pivot towards diversifying trade partnerships and reducing reliance on Western financial systems. Countries are increasingly engaging with alternative global powers, such as China and Russia, and exploring local currency trade agreements. This movement is driven by a desire to mitigate the risks of sanctions and ensure economic stability amid geopolitical uncertainties. The trend is fostering a multipolar economic landscape where nations seek more balanced and resilient international relationships. If you like the video so far, please don't forget to like and subscribe to ensure you get notified for new videos like this. Feel free to make any suggestions in the comments section. Just as the US reneged in 1971 on its obligation to convert dollars into gold, it later reneged on its implicit obligation to maintain the value of the dollar against oil. Since then, Washington has shed all semblances of fiscal restraint and any pretense of managing the dollar in the best interests of everyone. Instead, it now wields the greenback as a weapon in a desperate bid to roll back the very events it helped set in motion by not preserving the integrity of the currency in the first place. Washington's frequent use of the dollar to influence or punish other countries, like the recent sanctions on Russia, combined with the rise of BRICS nations, marks a pivotal time in global politics. We're witnessing significant geopolitical shifts. Saudi Arabia's recent moves signal further changes, adding pressure to the current system. These developments suggest a major transformation in international relations and economic power dynamics. The BRICS nations, Brazil, Russia, India, China, and South Africa, have also pushed for trade in local currencies. India's purchases of Russian oil in non-dollar currencies and Saudi Arabia's willingness to sell oil in currencies other than the dollar reflect a significant shift. In January 2023, Saudi Arabia publicly acknowledged its openness to non-dollar oil transactions, further weakening the petrodollar system. In November of that year, the kingdom sealed a currency swap deal with China, a surefire precursor of plans to do future business in local currencies. The petrodollar arrangement has been very good for the Saudis, and historically they have not shown a strong eagerness to give it up. No doubt contributing to this is a certain hesitancy about breaking with the Americans. Things do not tend to end well for the leadership of oil-producing countries who stop doing the bidding of the US. Yet the times are changing and Riyadh seems to sense that. Remember Iraq and Libya?
Now, what is this action, which is very technical, what does it mean for you? Let me lay to rest the bugaboo of what is called devaluation. If you want to buy a foreign car or take a trip abroad, market conditions may cause your dollar to buy slightly less.
Thank you for joining us on this incredible journey. If you enjoyed exploring with us, don't forget to hit the like button and leave a comment below with your thoughts or questions. We noticed that the majority of our viewers haven't subscribed yet. Make sure to click that subscribe button and ring the bell so you don't miss out on any of our future adventures.